This is the Ryan Luelf Show.
We have got to find a way to humanize being human again. We got to find a way.
What's the answer to that, though? Like, how? Like, it's such a negative stigmatism. No, listen, it's not nearly as bad as it was. Listen, whenever I was growing up, I mean, my dad literally driving the car one day, I said something kind of, flamboyant. And he looked back at me and he goes, "What was that?"
Well, I think honestly, my answer to that question is that it's awakening to who we truly are. Because every time another human being comes to the inner knowing of who they truly are, they essentially stop having the need to play the game. Because what we basically have is we have a bunch of humans pretending they're not playing the game of pretense.
Yeah.
That's what we have. And so every time someone stops playing the pretend game of pretense, then how long is it until they influence, just simply from the freedom they get to occupy, the liberation that they live from, how long is it before a couple of their friends, a few of their family members go, "You know what? That actually looks pretty nice. I think I want that." And then they awaken, right? We're never going to change the world by trying to change the world. We've got to simply look within, find what we're looking for ourselves, and then be brave enough, even if we're the only one, to live it. And to realize that the satisfaction and fulfillment that we kept looking for out there, the only place you actually ever really find it is in here.
Mm.
Yeah. Meet your own needs.
Well, I think I got comfortable with it as I got older, but also realizing someone had mentioned, I think I was watching a documentary, and they said, listen, there is a sexual spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
The word spectrum is very 2020, 2025. Being on the spectrum wasn't really a thing. You were either retarded or you weren't whenever
Right.
I was growing up. And if you
Right.
were retarded, oh God, you've got some issues.
Sure.
And now it's like there's some level of people are on some scale of the spectrum. Very,
Yeah.
very light, very
Yeah.
functional, whatever.
Absolutely.
But the guy was relating to the spectrum in the sense of there is a sexual spectrum. And he goes, and everybody has a number.
Yeah.
Everybody is on the spectrum to some degree.
Right.
Some are, completely and wholly straight, and some are just completely and wholly homosexual.
Okay.
He goes, but 99% of people fall somewhere on the spectrum
between.
in the middle.
Yeah.
And I think that gave me at least a little comfort of, okay, maybe I'm not alone. You have to understand, being bi-curious or pansexual or just curious in general of sexuality as a whole
Right.
is kind of taboo. It's in the sense of a lot of us men think, ooh, if I have that fetish, or if I like whips and chains, or if I want to maybe, try pegging, then I'm labeled as, ooh, you're probably a little bit of a freak. That really can't be discussed. So the way that I was raised is those things just weren't things that you talked about or even thought about. And if you do, it was of the devil. But I think we're kind of in a society now, what I've learned as I've grown up, gotten more wisdom, and really just not care as much of what people think, is there's a lot of exploration to be had with your body, number one, and then with either another person or person's body that have kindred spirits. And so, the last podcast we were kind of talking and really diving into a little bit of what that looks like. But I think sexual dysfunction comes from people being afraid to even have the conversation.
100%.
Therefore, they feel alone. Therefore, they reach out to other avenues to get their pleasure or to get their freak on. And it really doesn't have to be that way.
I don't think so at all. I think, in fact, what if we're all the same?
What if we are?
What if all of us found that buried beneath programming, conditioning, fear, insecurity, shame, guilt, being told all of these horrific things were going to happen if we even had the thoughts? What if we found underneath all of that, we're all sexual beings? And what if we came into the knowing and the realization that we're all one? What if we are one energy, one consciousness, one life force, just expressed differently through the body of Brian Barlow, the body of Ryan Luelf, the body of whoever.
And we're all creating a show. We're all creating our own pleasure or displeasure.
Absolutely.
We're all chapters or arms of the movie.
Yeah.
So play your biggest and best role. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think the two greatest fears that come up for people when it comes to the realm of sexuality, probably the number one fear, but maybe it depends on who it is. So I don't even want to say that. So I don't want to say number one, because now that I'm thinking about it, I don't want to be the one to predetermine. If someone's more afraid of this aspect, hey, I can respect that, because I've not walked a day in their shoes. I don't know what kind of experiences might have created that fear. But I'll just say this. The two fears that stand out, at least to me, are either the fear that my desires, my fantasies, my fetishes, what I'm into, my sexuality is wrong, is bad, is going to be punished. I shouldn't even feel this way. I shouldn't even have these desires. I can't even believe I'm having these thoughts. This is so horrible. Some God, some deity, some creator of all of this. I have no idea why they've sent such confusing signals. I've got all of this stuff rising up inside of me, but I know that I shouldn't do any of it. I shouldn't explore any of it. I've just got to stay busy. I've just got to work hard.
Shame on you.
I've just got to, suppress all of that, and I can just never go there because, I think that fear of it's wrong, it's bad, it's dirty, it's nasty, it's this, it's that, like that is a big thing. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
The other thing that I think people are always afraid of is that somehow sexuality and freedom is an acceptance of harm.
Well, hold on. Sexuality and freedom is an acceptance of harm.
Yeah, Ryan. I mean, if you just tell people that everything's okay, well, what about rape? Well, what about sexual abuse? Well, what about someone forcing? Well, what about harm? Listen, folks, can it not just be common sense that regardless of sexual orientation, sexual pleasure, sexual exploration, sexual curiosity, your fetishes, what you're into, how about consent? How about respect? How about mutual love? How about treating everyone the way we would treat ourselves? How about that is just the baseline establishment? Like
the bare minimum.
Why is it that we associate the idea that if someone is just free, we go right to the place of, well, I mean, you can't just allow, someone to harm someone or rape someone. Folks, it's happening right now, and we don't have sexual freedom. So people are acting like the thing that is already happening would only happen if we had total freedom in a subject area. And I say, are you just sticking your head in the sand to the fact that maybe you have it backwards? What if the thing that's actually happening that you don't like is actually happening in the absence of freedom? Because see, when I think of freedom, that freedom is associated to the realization that I don't believe loving your neighbor as yourself, even though it was taught to me as a command, is actually a command at all. I think it's just like gravity. It's universal law. It was an explanation of actually how it works. It's an explanation of what it means to be human. The way we all treat others is always 100% a reflection of how we are currently treating ourselves. It does not diminish the consequences. It is never okay to harm another. But if we all knew that every time we did anything to another, good, bad, right, wrong, harm, not harm, we are essentially doing that to ourselves. I don't have any desire from that framework to cause any harm, because I certainly am not waking up on the daily wanting to harm myself. And when I got so clear that anything I did to another, I did to myself, I was blown away at how effortless it became to not want to do things that I have done in the past that have harmed others. I would argue that it's a misunderstanding that doing something to another is not doing something to us, and that that's actually what leads to way more harm.
Well, and I buy into the theory that whenever you get upset or you want revenge or you want to be angry with somebody, that you're giving all that power to that person, and I refuse to release power anymore. I just don't. I just don't.
Yeah.
I had a situation a couple weeks ago with actually this very podcast studio, just inappropriate
not worth
timing,
it, right?
unprofessional. But I was just like, oh, okay, we'll just change.
And we're not talking about being passive, by the way.
Correct.
We're not talking about never taking a stand.
Or being walked on.
Yes. But we're also suggesting that we don't have, in our human form, we don't have unlimited energy to give.
Correct.
Out. Or, as I think that one book said, you don't have unlimited fucks to give.
Correct.
So
fucks are all out.
Maybe there's a time and a place to have a boundary, and at the same time, but I'm not going to give any more energy to that. And you might say, well, what about justice? Listen, I mean, I think it's all cause and effect, right? What we do to another, we do to ourselves. What someone does to us, they're actually doing to themselves. I'm not sure anybody's getting away with anything. So I remind myself when I feel like someone potentially has wronged me or hurt me or done something that I don't feel is on the up and up. First of all, it is my perception, right? Maybe they don't think they did anything wrong. Maybe they don't think they did anything to harm me or hurt me.
Or it was justified.
Whatever the story is, right? We're all making up stories all the time. And in fact, the people who say we're not just made up a story that we're not making up stories. So you just made up a story, which just confirmed what I just said.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So the point is, though, is I don't want to keep giving energy to something other than what I want to give energy to. I want to give energy to what I'm for. I want to give energy to love and peace and harmony and passion and enthusiasm and adventure, right? I might observe something. I'm noticing as I get older. I noticed this even this weekend at just an event that I was at, Brian. I just don't have the same reaction to always think I need to insert my opinion. Like, I'll have my opinion kind of internally, and then I'll just think, yeah, it's not worth my energy, right? Like, the more I gave others the freedom to just have their opinion and not make them wrong, the less energy I allow to leak out. And what I find is then I really have the energy for the few things and the few people that matter most to me. And I find that equals a lot of satisfaction and a lot of fulfillment and a life that I enjoy living moment by moment by moment pretty consistently. Even when there's challenges, even when I'm a little under the weather, even when something doesn't maybe work out the way I was thinking I wanted it to, I'm finding that I'm just okay. I'm okay all the time, regardless. And either it works out the way I was thinking that I wanted it to work out, or I'm trusting that the way it's working out was something I couldn't see or I couldn't conjure up in my mind, and I'm deciding that it's working out anyway. And I feel like we were going to do part 2 on the whole sexuality, and somehow now we've veered off into things working out.
Well, but listen, I think let me do the transitions around here. How bad were you though? Because the indication was you and I both, we got better as we got older. But how bad were you? Well, hold on. Should I ask Caroline this before I ask? I need to have Caroline on the show one day. That's what I need. I need to have Caroline on the show. We need to get really, really personal with Caroline. Caroline, she'll give us the tea.
Don't embarrass her now.
She'll give us the tea. But how bad were you?
Well, I think I was so bad that I didn't know I was bad.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, that's how bad it is. It's like when you don't know you're bad and you think you're kind of good, that's how bad you were and how bad you are.
Yeah. But I guess so how did you start to realize, what did it take? What was it that transpired that made you understand maybe you weren't in the area? Did it come from Caroline or did it come from you?
You know what? It started on the first night we were married. You know, we were raised in purity culture. We were raised in Christianity. And
so you guys are probably just giddy that you're going to go have sex.
I mean, I was.
Yeah, you're just like, oh gosh, we're going to get to do it.
And here's an interesting thing. I was, as a guy. What I found out and discovered later is Caroline actually had a lot of apprehension. She had a lot of fear. Like, we'd been dating in high school for 4.5 years. We did everything other than penetration, right? because that was the one thing that Jesus didn't allow. You wouldn't be a virgin anymore, and you were definitely going to go to hell. All the other things we did, God said those are okay, right? I mean, it's just laughable when you really think about it, right?
Is, yes.
But here's the thing. I was super excited. I was definitely naive on just how intercourse worked and how sex, really needed to happen, the chemistry, the woman being turned on, getting wet, arousal, how long that lasted, the way you thrust, all of that stuff. And because it's not an easy subject to freely talk about, especially when it's being demonized and it's being told it's bad and it's wrong and don't do it. So imagine being a woman dating someone in high school for 4.5 years, and all that is slammed into your mind over and over and over again is don't do it. It's wrong. It's bad. Sex is dirty. You got to turn those desires off. Oh, all of that stuff, right? And then we're expecting a 45-minute ceremony in a church with a steeple on top and a certificate from the state of Oklahoma to have a switch flipped. And now she's supposed to be, flying down from the rafters.
What a great descriptive that is, though. That's so accurate. That's what it is. You think that you're getting a paper certificate, you're in a church, and then now there's somebody upstairs going, okay, now it's okay.
Right. And now you can fuck like a couple of wild animals
and it's
have
acceptable.
Multiple orgasms and, explore every type of fantasy and idea that you... Right. Not only is it acceptable, you're supposed to know how to do it. You're supposed to be skilled at it, and you're supposed to be able to enjoy it. At least, I made those assumptions. No fault of my own, right? So we arrive at the hotel room on our honeymoon night before we're going to fly out the next day or drive or wherever we were going. God, it's been that long. I guess we just did. We drove. We're supposed to go to Hawaii, settled for Arkansas. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother podcast.
Poor Caroline.
Yeah, right? Yeah, she's still with me. It's amazing. But Brian, we couldn't figure it out. We did not have sexual intercourse the first night. We couldn't figure it out.
No way.
I'm serious. Absolutely could not figure it out.
How frustrated were you?
I think I was frustrated. Caroline, I can't imagine how hurt she had to feel inside. She felt like it was all her fault. She felt like she had disappointed me.
Her body wasn't ready.
We didn't know what to do. We couldn't figure it out. Right? She had so much fear. How was she supposed to all of a sudden just be free and be naked and all of that when it has been ingrained every fucking week how bad and wrong and terrible this is?
God, that's such an interesting perspective, because it is. But especially from a female's perspective, and traditional families is like, you're taught, hey, this is bad. You don't do this before you're married, and you could get pregnant, and it's no good. And then all of a sudden, they're supposed to be in this atmosphere of sexual fantasy land. It doesn't work like that. So of course she probably wasn't. And how many women probably aren't or fake it? And really, to your defense too, we're supposed, we're sexual beings, maybe more so than the average woman. But did we know to do anything to make her at ease, to make her feel safe, to arouse her, to ease her mind, to let her know, hey, it's okay. Like, if you don't want to do it tonight, or if it doesn't work out tonight, it's okay. Like, let's work up to it. Like, did we know to do that?
Yeah,
of course not.
And then, Brian, so think about this scenario, right? I've been looking forward to this night for a while.
I'm sure.
Let's be honest. Why are we even getting married at 19 and 18? We're getting married because of fucking religion.
Yeah.
That's why we're getting married. Let's just call it what it is, right? There's no other practical sense in which that probably made any sense. We should have been exploring what it likes to be two adults, how to build a life together, how are we going to cohabit, in a home together, how are we going to handle our money? We should have been having big time conversations around all the subject matters that matter. But instead, I'm just like, I got to have sex, right? You know what I mean? So we make it bigger than it needs to be because we have a misunderstanding of its purpose and what it is in the first place. And so who are we supposed to turn to? If our parents and our peers and the leaders in our spiritual community, if everybody has essentially failed us up to this point, now we're waking up the day after we got married. We're dealing with all of the internal emotions. I don't remember me and Caroline knowing even how to even converse about that. She probably kind of kept them inside, and I kept them inside, but we could energetically feel the tension and the frustration. We probably made up a bunch of stories and assumptions that weren't even true or real. And all I remember was that for some reason, my parents had to come visit the hotel the next morning before her and I drove to Arkansas. And so I said something to my father. He said, "I don't know what to tell you." And I don't even say that as if like I'm mad. That tells me, who knows? Maybe my parents didn't even have a good sex life at that point, and they had been married 25 years. He probably didn't even have any skills. He probably didn't know what to do. He had nothing to tell me. This is not to throw my father under the bus, my late father. God bless his soul. He literally was not equipped. No pun intended. He had nothing to really tell me, to advise me on, to share with me.
Good luck.
Such an important component. We're getting married. We're committing before God to spend the rest of our lives with. And the intimate sexual aspect of our beings, and we have no clue what to do. Now listen, maybe this isn't every person who was raised in a Christian home's experience. I know a lot of Christian kids that just figured sex out on their own, and they were having sex outside of the marriage, and they have a whole different deal they had to deal with because they had the shame of not knowing if they were going to hell or not, and making sure they tried to keep that quiet and, hope they didn't get caught, and God forbid she gets pregnant. And then there's lots of stories of Christian girls that had an abortion and never told anybody.
Right.
And then they carry the weight of that. Like, we act like we're getting away with something by not talking about the elephant in the room. Folks, we ain't getting away with nothing. We are creating so many things that we could lead back to the fact that these subject matters aren't being talked about, but yet we can't even say that either. So we keep acting like the thing that actually caused the thing isn't even the thing, if you're following me.
Mm-hmm.
And this was just the foundation that led to, I had an affair 4 years into our marriage. And here's the remarkable thing, and this is really a testament.
Well, hold on, before you get to that.
Yeah.
What caused you to have the affair?
I will say this. I was bringing my sexual frustration up, and I attest to Caroline as a phenomenal human being. She was trying to hear me. She was trying to meet me there. But for one reason or another, it just wasn't happening. And
you didn't tell her you were going to go have an affair, did you?
No. What I'm saying is,
okay,
she knew there was sexual frustration. We were trying to figure it out. I wasn't like wanting to go cheat on her.
But
we're 4 years in, and we had not figured it out. We had not encountered the information that we would later stumble into. We had not evolved to a place that we could then begin to
choreograph what you both needed.
Thank you.
So did you tell her, or did she find out on her own?
It was kind of a combination of both.
Okay.
So you want me to tell the story?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think there's also a really amazing component that gives a tremendous amount of credit to Caroline. We didn't have any kids. And I'll get to this point in the story in a second. If she had chosen to respond differently, which would have been, I couldn't have blamed her for responding differently. Addison wouldn't have been born. Atlanta wouldn't have been born. Arthur wouldn't have been born. Arrow wouldn't have been born. So she's traveling a ton for work. I'm working a lot of the evenings in the financial business that I'm in. I'm training people. Sometimes I have to go to cities that are far enough away that by the time I'm done, I'm staying overnight in a hotel or something like that based on the business that I'm growing statewide. And this is just setting up the atmosphere for something to unfold and occur, because
Yeah.
we're not only already frustrated, but we're also both working a lot and we're not seeing each other a lot. And sometimes we're not even at home together, sleeping in the same bed.
The ingredients of the tornado is forming.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well said. So there was just a situation where I had a team of people that I was training, and there was a young, very attractive female that came into my business through some other people. And the people that brought them in weren't really at a place where they could train her yet. They were still learning the business, getting their licenses, et cetera, et cetera. And so I had to basically field train her, but I was usually taking along another person as well. And so for the first probably few weeks or month or whatever, it wasn't like it was just her and I, you know what I mean? And I had some consciousness and awareness around, just what was appropriate and not putting myself in situations.
Sure.
But this one time, she was from a city that was several hours away from, we lived in Oklahoma City at the time. And she had set up a ton of training appointments over like a weekend where we needed to go down. It's like a 4-hour drive or something. We were going to be down there for a couple of days. And Caroline, I believe, was out of town. And the gentleman that had brought her into the business, another young person, he was going to be going with us. And then I believe like right at the last minute, something happened and he could not go. So it ended up just being her and I. So we've got a 4-hour drive down. And then because her parents still lived down there, and to obviously save money, they just invited me to just stay over. They had an extra room, and, I was just going to stay in their house. So as you said, the ingredients of the tornado are forming. At the end of the day, you spend a lot of time together. You're in the car together. You're having conversation. Then we're going out on all these field training appointments. And then probably the kiss of death, was they had a hot tub.
Oh, boy.
And so anyway, here's the interesting thing, though, and I don't have enough time on this podcast to necessarily go into all the details, and that isn't really the point of what we're talking about here. But I do think there are some benefits to this story. God, this was 21 years ago, Brian. I really haven't relived this in a while. So it's interesting as I'm...
Let me ask you this. Are you okay reliving it? Because I know you're big on just the past is the past and the future is the future and being your best version. Are you okay with even reliving this story? Does that add any content or content to the podcast that's going to be beneficial to the people watching?
I think it does.
Okay.
And I think, honestly, the reason I'm like having these moments of pause is I don't relive it on a regular basis. And there's nothing wrong with reliving it, but we didn't plan this. So I guess it's kind of catching me off guard.
Okay.
But I do have a point with where I'm going, and I think it's important.
Okay.
So long story short, nothing ends up happening that weekend. But a couple of days after we get back, this young lady sends me a text message, and this was the first move. And basically it said it was everything I could do to not come into your room in the middle of the night and get in bed with you. And what that text message activated was back to what I said earlier.
Desirable.
I had never sexually felt chosen and desired.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not blaming Caroline.
Correct.
Caroline's programming, training, understanding, religious upbringing never allowed that part of her to be activated. This is important. To simultaneously understand how this happened, which in my opinion reveals what it means to be human, and at the same time, to have total compassion and understanding as to why Caroline wouldn't be showing up this same way. It wasn't because she's not capable. It wasn't because she doesn't have these desires. It's because all of this had been buried by the lies and the illusions of the programming and conditioning that came maybe not just from religion, but that was definitely one of the places. That got activated. The next thing you know, over the next 2 or 3 months, I started sleeping with this young lady. But as you can imagine, still being the Christian that I was at that time, the guilt and shame, this is funny, but I'm going to say it this way, it fucking robbed me of enjoying that. I couldn't even enjoy it. Now, that's not to say that I think being, to not be trustworthy, to lie, to be dishonest, to go behind your spouse's back, I'm not advocating for that at all. So even if I hadn't had the shame and guilt from I'm doing something wrong, I probably still couldn't have fully enjoyed it, because I don't think doing something in hiding or in secret or going against your word to someone in your life, I don't ever find that appropriate. And I don't need to be a Christian, by the way, to think that I need that standard. I just don't want to treat people that way, because I don't want to be treated that way. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And as we established on the last episode, what we do to others, we're doing to ourselves, So after a couple of months, I just couldn't live with myself anymore. I told the young lady it had to stop. And she was trying to steal me away from Caroline, without a doubt. And so I'm glad I was able to pull away. I was not in love with her. I just had never been sexually desired like that. And I had never experienced that level of eroticism. And it was like both thrilling, exciting, and unbelievable. And at the same time, again, couldn't enjoy it because it wasn't done in the proper context, of course. So anyway, I'm actually on the way to a business meeting one night. Caroline's in the car with me. I got referred to a counselor at a church. This counselor happened to call me. I didn't know they were going to call me. And even though Caroline's sitting next to me, energetically, like she could just feel it.
They know.
They know.
Yeah.
And so when you asked me the question, like, did you tell her or did she find out? Well, as she's realizing something isn't right, I basically told her what happened. On the way to the church, he was there, and we skipped the business meeting and we went straight to counseling, and I unloaded everything in front of her and the counselor.
How did that go? How did she handle that?
I mean, I think for a while, she would wake up in the middle of the night, and then she would get a pillow, and then she would wake me up by nailing me with the pillow. Like, that was her way of releasing the anger that she rightfully had inside.
Sure.
But to give her so much credit, she decided that she was going to approach this from what is her responsibility? What was her role? What was it in the dynamic between her and I that wasn't as healthy as it could be that would even lead to that happening?
So are you saying that is what that moment is what opened up the conversation for transparency?
Absolutely. Without a doubt.
And isn't it a shame that it takes sometimes catastrophe to get clarity?
I don't know that I refer to it as a shame anymore. I've accepted it as what is. Like,
you're okay with that happening because it brought you to where you are today.
Absolutely. And so is Caroline, by the way. And not that we're going to just sit down and revisit it, but you found true healing. We'll be driving down the road, and sometimes it's even been Caroline that for some reason the memory of this comes up. We can even say the lady's first name without it causing an energetic charge. Like, the illusion of perfection, the illusion that you can somehow get it all right, as if there even is a right way to get it, screws up more people's humans' life than almost anything else I know.
You know, I love the saying of whenever you see an older couple or whether they're married or maybe it's a friendship of two older men or women, and underneath that you think, how many times did one or both of them have to forgive each other to get to the place where they are now in their 60s or 70s? And I think that's probably a testament to you and Caroline as well. True love, unconditional love that is bound by something supernatural that we probably can't even identify or explain, is often tested over and over and over. But how many times do you forgive to get to the place of purity?
Well,
But too many of us don't.
Yeah, and I'm going to say something even more radical. The only reason you need forgiveness in the first place is because judgment preceded. So if you remove the judgment,
there's no forgiveness needed.
You can just start seeing things for what they are.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. And it became the contrast that ignited us on a journey that's allowed us to be able to rediscover what sexuality was meant to be.
Which takes me on to the next question of how good is your sex life now?
That might be a harder question to ask, or to answer, I should say. You know, I'm going to answer it this way. I am one lucky motherfucker because we are having moments where the deepest energetic sexual desires that I have felt my entire life inside have matched up physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, and body to body at the same time that I believe Caroline could say her deepest, most wild, phenomenal, playful, pleasurable, sexual desires that for many years she didn't even think existed inside of her.
Didn't know she had.
Didn't even know were there.
Mm-hmm.
Have showed up. And we have absolutely, as the Bible said, had moments where we felt like we were one.
And truly probably making love.
And you know, we weren't planning on having a fourth child. And we truly, I'll say this out loud, one of the most incredible seasons of just phenomenal sex that her and I were enjoying is when she got pregnant. She was 4 years old. We had been practicing birth control and had been fine for almost 10 years. I mean, Arthur was almost 10 at the time that he was 9 when we got pregnant, I guess. And she happened to ovulate 10 days outside of her cycle. We didn't know this, but she had had a little bit of hormonal imbalance, a little adrenal fatigue. She'd been seeing a naturopath. She was really getting healthy. And the naturopath kind of joked later. She goes, yeah, I probably should have mentioned that when you get really healthy at her age, it can cause you to ovulate way outside your cycle, you know? And I'm sorry, but man, if I ain't got to use a condom, I ain't using a condom, bro. Right? Like if you had it without a condom and you had it with a condom,
you're not using
a condom, right? And so we joke and we say, you know, our fourth child arrived purely out of pleasure.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, we weren't having him. We didn't want to have a fourth kid, right? So how cool is it? And
what a great sex trophy.
What a great sex trophy, right?
Your own little fourth little kid you didn't even mean to have.
And because of where we're at in our lives, I feel like we're soaking up the moments of him at 1, 2, 3. He's 4 right now. I mean, even this morning, before I came in to record this podcast, like his mannerisms, the stage in his development, the things he says, the way he kisses me, holds me, puts his fingers through my fingers, the way he says dada or daddy or dad. Like, I'm just so much more in tune. And really, at the end of the day, for me, like, having a great sex life really is about being in tune with myself, in tune with my autonomy, in tune with my body, and in tune with my partner.
Yeah.
And when those dynamics come together,
you make little sex babies.
Good point. And how do you make peace with all the shit we've been talking about, though, that's so frustrating?
Right.
And it's the contrast. It's relative. If I don't have that, how would I even be able to express how great I'm enjoying that category of my life now?
Well, and how many men have had affairs? How many men have sexual... Go ahead.
Yeah, no. Or I was going to say are having affairs and are listening right now.
Right now.
By the way, I'm a safe place. Like, for real. Like, we can navigate that. You don't have to carry that shit forever, dude. Call me.
Well, and I think that's what I was just getting ready to kind of describe and say is maybe that weak moment, maybe that concern of shame, maybe that all the things that we're supposed to, that society grooms us to feel about ourselves, maybe that's not all for naught. maybe the bright side, the good side, the great sex, the exploration, the open transparency, the communication with the partner, maybe all that's about to happen, but you had to have this first. I mean, I think you're a great testament to your own belief system and your own philosophies is you've got to, and you told me this on the second podcast, you've got to have the darkness, you've got to have the contrast to get to the light.
Yeah, you really do.
And but I also think it takes training your brain from a mental standpoint on how to perceive yourself, how to forgive yourself, how to let go, how to give yourself a blank open canvas. But I think you have to have a tool like yourself that trains us men who are often alone, who are often leading, who are often the caregivers, who are often the money makers. And I'm not saying that women aren't doing their role either, but I'm just saying that's how men are built. But we have no one to lean on, no one to go to, no one to say, hey, I fucked up. No one to say, hey, I have these sexual thoughts, or I have this porn addiction, or I have alcohol.
Or I just simply don't understand why I feel the way I feel.
Or just something as simple as like, I don't even know how to have sex. Like, are you saying that?
Right. What if you're 38 years old or 51 or any age and you're like, how could I admit to another man that I don't know how to have sex?
Yes.
Like, don't take that to your grave.
Correct.
There are people like me and Brian. Obviously, I'm the one that coaches people specifically, but there are people. We will not shame you. Excuse me. We will see you. We will hear you. We will hold you. It will not be weird. It will not be awkward. No. Excuse me. Man, it chokes me up.
Yeah, you died over there.
For real, like, you don't have to take that to your grave. You don't have to live in misery another day, another week, another month, another year. That's what my coaching container, that's what my private community is about.
Well, while you sit over there, cough your lungs away. I just want to. I don't want to overtake your story in any way, but I mean, I can also testify that as I've gotten older, and even whenever I got divorced, I ran into a situation where I too got with, I had a girlfriend, and I was able to explore some things that I wasn't able to in the first. And you're right. There's just as you get older, if you're open, if you find somebody that you can actually explore with, and find a woman that doesn't know that she has the capabilities to do certain things because she's never been prompted into that. I mean, it's a whole different ball game when you get two people on the same sexual chemistry field. Like, I think
it truly is.
It can be fascinating.
And I can speak to that because with the same woman, I've experienced when we weren't, and I've experienced when we were.
Right.
Like, I experienced her as the Caroline that showed up as, this is a to-do list. This is my duty. Nowhere in the files of her sexual brain did she think she was supposed to show up and have a good time and it be about her and have multiple orgasms.
Isn't that crazy?
Isn't that insane?
Crazy?
Right.
A lot of these, especially with these traditionalized women, have no idea how pleasured they can be if they have the right environment and sexual partner.
Or just the right mindset. And yet now to experience and see what it's like for that woman to transform, and then what that signals and does for me as a man.
Oh, I bet it's a game changer for you.
I mean, there's nothing greater than to absolutely know that she is fulfilled and she got all that she wanted and a bit more, and that's because of me.
And I think that's going to do it for today's podcast of the Ryan Luelf Show.
Oh, hey, it's me again, Barlow. So I want to let you know that what Ryan Luelf is coaching, it's super real, not programmed, not premeditated, and not inspired by anything other than raw truth and an unconditional love formatted by source, you. Ryan's testimony is real. His life experience is indicative of a program he designed to not only transform one's self-identity and purpose, but to give a new outlook of what real, unprogrammed life could be, and at its highest, most enjoyable frequency once the preconditioned societal norms have been dismantled, erased. His work is raw, real, and life-altering. If you want more of this content, we have two places that you can go. You can join Ryan Luelf's School, SKOOL, for raw, unedited versions of his podcast and him personally, or you can book a free simple clarity call for men needing to be heard, needing to be understood, or just given hope, someone to listen, to say that life is as real as your conscience allows. Those calls are designed to help you gain clarity. They're called clarity calls, and they're free. We hope that you allow us to help you, and then if we can help you, then you can let you. Pretty simple.